So here I am back. I told you I would come back, and I am back. And today, while I've watched a bit of television, I have been editing this afternoon as well. And so far I've actually went through about 1,200 words in the current scene. So it's coming along, and I've actually removed a bunch of stuff. I've rewritten a bunch of stuff the way it had been written before. I've still managed to add like 18 words in the process. And, well, I'm also feeling kind of lazy today. Yeah, I deserve that every once in a while. But as you can see, it's a lovely afternoon glow is coming in through the window. So I'm actually going to do something that I've only done once before. And that is, I'm actually going to read an excerpt. I've read excerpts before, but I think it's been like 2 years ago, the last time I actually read one. And what I want to read is the section of Carrie and Annie's, or I should say Annie and Carrie's, I always say Annie and Carrie, Annie and Carrie's day trip through London for the first time. And this is when they were having lunch at Per Day Manager in Russell Square in downtown London. And the only people that have actually seen this section of the first novel, A for Advanced, have been a few of my beta readers. I never have shown this part before. And it's really one of my favorite parts because you begin to see the interaction between the two, but at the same time, you're seeing Carrie as a completely different person. And you're seeing Annie with all these little hints of things that she's doing, which at the time you don't know what's really going on. She just seems like this, I'm this possessive girl who's trying to get you to notice me. And in a way, that's exactly what Annie was trying to do. But there was an ulterior motive to it, and you begin to see little spots here and there where her thought process will say, and of course there is, and then, you know, it stops because I didn't want to give away the game at that point as to what was actually going on. So I'm going to read a short excerpt, as I've edited it, of what they were doing in Russell Square after they've eaten most of their food already. And they begin talking. So I'll try to change the voices, which I really shouldn't do, but I like trying to speak in Annie's voice sometimes. She's really, I mean, she's one of my favorites. So here you go. This is picking up. I'm not going to read all of the paragraph that precedes, but basically it's going to start out with a question from Carrie that has to do with the other two kids that were actually along in London with them, Colin from Ireland and Alicia from Scotland. So, you know, 3 UK kids, none of them from England. You gotta love that. Ireland, well, actually Ireland, yeah, Ireland. Only Northern Ireland is UK. Colin is actually from Erie, regular Ireland, so he's not really UK. So 2 UK kids and an Irish kid and a girl from Bulgaria. And nobody has probably asked, why is this girl from Bulgaria here? Although I think she gives an answer at one point that, you know, my parents had business and they just dropped me off. Yeah, it seems legit. So we'll pick up here with a question that Carrie asked, and then it'll go from there. So here you go. Get ready for the pain, because I'm probably going to stumble through this as I read. I'm not the best of readers, but here we go. When he looked up once more, he changed the subject to something perilous. So what really happened with Colin and Alicia? Did they give you a lot of trouble yesterday? This was something she hadn't wanted to discuss, and while Annie knew Carrie was curious about their outing yesterday, she wanted to put that day behind her. I'd rather not. Please? Given that he said please, and was looking right at her with his green, moist, and pleading eyes, Annie relented. Well, first there was Colin. She rolled her eyes, and you can see Annie rolling her eyes. Ugh. There's 3 of us, and he's the boy, so he has to have the map. After 15 minutes, he had no idea where we were, in part because he had the map upside down. I finally took it from him and got us to the tailor shop. Carrie could almost see Annie pulling one of the small printed maps from Colin's hands and indicating what direction they were supposed to go. I don't imagine he was happy about that. She half closed her eyes with a humph. He's a silly boy. He's a small child from a small town, and a large city like London is far too much for him to handle. Just hold it right there. That is exactly something Annie would say. He's just a small boy from a small town. Small child, actually. Yeah, you could tell. As some of you would say, princess level stuff going on here. All right, back to the story. Carrie. Yeah, I can believe that. And what about Alicia? Oh, her. All she did was complain about everything. Carrie shrugged. She's from Scotland, so that's pretty much normal for her. Annie held her breath for a few moments before bursting out laughing. How can you say that? She giggled even more, but she did complain constantly. It grew tiresome after a while. He nodded in agreement. I noticed that last night. It's like a sport with her. See how quickly she can wear down everyone else. It didn't seem to bother you, though. Yeah, well, he tilted his head from side to side while sipping his smoothie. I'm good at tuning out people after a while. He sat back in his chair and drew a deep breath. I get a lot of practice at home. Annie didn't want to bring up this part of his life. After all, she'd heard and seen enough to know his home life was less than ideal. You weren't turning me out today, were you? You? His face brightened as he shook his head. No, not at all. I did prattle on a bit. No, you didn't. She leaned forward over the table just a little. Are you sure? Yeah. He shook his head quickly, his eyes fixed upon her. You weren't talking that much. I think I was talking more than you. You were asking a lot of questions. I know. Quite a lot. Yeah, but I mean, Annie didn't want to string him along. Carrie. Yes? I'm teasing. He blinked a couple of eyes, his face stone still. Really? Yes. She started to reach across the table, then stopped herself. I liked talking with you while we were out, and I loved the silence we shared. It was... Annie glanced upward as she shrugged. Perfect. Don't you think? She could tell he didn't know what to say. Part of her knew he was at his wits' ends, trying to come up with something that wasn't going to sound silly or stupid. And another part of her knew something far different. When he found his voice again, he spoke slowly and assuredly. It was nice. It was. I don't know perfect, because... He lowered his head and looked at the table surface. I don't know what perfect should feel like. This time Annie did reach across the table and touched his left hand. It felt like today, Carrie. That's what perfect is like. He looked down at his hand, then up at Annie as she slowly drew hers back. There was a puzzled look on his face, as if he were expecting something else and it hadn't yet arrived. I believe you. His voice was almost inaudible against the background sounds of the restaurant. I believe you know perfect, Annie. She offered a slight grin. Sometimes. So there. That's what they were talking about. And you're beginning to see the interaction between them, you know. Annie reaching out. She's a very touchy-feely girl, and there's all the reason for that. Most of all, she wants to hold hands with Carrie. She wants to touch him. But you know, if you followed the story from when I was posting it online, you know that there's a reason for all of this. She's trying to do something, and that's how she's going about doing it. I love the interaction because they aren't acting like a couple that's been together for a long time. They're acting like a couple of kids who are just starting out. And the whole idea I had at this point was that it's kind of supposed to almost look as if Annie has an infatuation. In fact, that's brought up later on in the book while they're traveling to America, that it looks like Annie's making a play for Carrie. But we all know eventually, after the first week they're at school, Annie goes and has a discussion with Deanna, and she lays out the whole story. And so we begin to see what's going on. But here, it's really kind of perfect. Carrie is completely lost. He doesn't know how to handle girls. He doesn't really know how to handle people. That's his biggest problem. And Annie doesn't really know how to handle people very well either. I mean, we've picked up over the last two novels that she has actually led kind of a secluded life, even though she's still a bit of a jet setter. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of friends. She went to school with normal kids, but doesn't know a lot of aware kids. And it really takes her a while to warm up to people, to really bring them into her small circle of friends. One could almost say that she's really guarded against her own feelings, and we do know that Annie doesn't like to express emotion. She'll do it around Carrie. You know, she is getting to the point where she's beginning to express herself more and more around him. But as far as other people are concerned, you know, she keeps that icy composure in place the entire time. And a couple of times it has slipped. And usually when it's slipped, it's because Annie's pissed off. And we don't like to see Annie pissed off, because when she's like that, she's a holy little terror. I mean, you know, imagine, you know, Veruca Salt from the first Willy Wonka. I want it now. Unfortunately, I also have magic, so give it to me, or zap, you know. That's the way Annie is. You know, I want it now. She's a selfish girl. She's a selfish, greedy girl who can also kill you with a look, you know. There you go. Zap. You're dead, you know. She's already killed people in under like 15 seconds, so you don't want to mess with her. But she also wants something. And, of course, you can say it's selfishness. But as Deanna tells her much later in the novel, you're in love. You're allowed to be selfish. And that's really, we're leading up to that. I am stepping through the parts of the novel, leading it to where Annie really is selfish because of her love. She wants her ginger hair boy. We know this. And she's going to get him eventually. Then, you know, first comes love, then comes Carrie, then first comes Carrie, then comes marriage, then, you know, comes Annie with a baby carriage. And maybe Carrie too, you never know. We'll have to see where that goes in his life, and you'll start getting maybe you'll get a view of that in the Sea Level novel, if and when I get around to writing it. I'm actually kind of enjoying my break from writing. As a matter of fact, the last couple of days I've actually been doing research on a particular section of the world for a possible Annie and Carrie adventure, which will happen in one of the later novels. You know, it's possible. These kids get around. They're going to start getting around. You watch. But yeah, I'm always thinking. And it's the kind of thing that's going to be fun. But eventually I will get around to writing a Sea Level novel, so don't worry, it's coming. And when it gets here, you'll get to see just how much hell these kids are going to go through. I will just say one thing. There is a particular section in the upcoming novel that, man, I can't believe I can't believe I'm being this mean. I really can't, so it's just the way I am. You gotta hurt your kids every once in a while. You gotta hurt the characters you love. So here we are, almost at 15 minutes. It's counting down. I got 10 seconds to go. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll actually write tomorrow, so no fear. Bye-bye.